Sunday morning here in New York City. I'm going to use this episode to give a rebuttal to this post that I came across on LinkedIn. How many likes does this post have? It was a long post and it has 33 likes, 14 comments, and it's a guy justifying his decision to end his business. I found it because a friend of mine quoted it. A friend of mine quoted it and said 100% this. And I disagree. I strongly disagree. My rebuttal for this is going to be a quote from Michael Bloomberg, a really good quote. But first, let me read some of the post. I don't know if I'll read all of it. It's a bit negative, and I don't agree with it. Here it is. It's this guy, Chinmay Patel, and he said, "This week alone, I have talked to 3 of my friends that are shutting down their businesses due to market conditions. It's bad out there, but shutting down a business is a tough decision. In the past, I have shut down 2 companies and successfully exited 2-ish companies. Here are the lessons I have learned on when to move on. When you don't want to wake up in the morning, this is the biggest and brightest red flag." I already disagree. I feel like nothing is perfect. Nothing is ever perfect, but I'm going to keep going. If you don't feel like waking up to face the challenges of the work, you most likely have lost the drive to solve the customer problems. At this time, you have 3 options. Either reignite your fire to help your customers solve the given problem, redefine the problem, or call it quits and find your succession. When it's losing money, number 2, when it's losing money and impacting your personal life. All businesses lose money at one point in time. Surprisingly, most businesses lose money at the most of times, especially in the early stages. But if it impacts your personal finances and lifestyle, or if it impacts the financial security of your loved one, you might want to consider quitting. I promise you, or you could pivot. Like, I don't know why it's not. I promise you, you will get another opportunity to solve another problem in the future. Yeah, you'll get a million of these opportunities, and then you'll keep on making the same mistake with all of them. Let's just bounce around. By the way, people who say that they have exited companies does not mean that they are successful. You can exit a company and get $10,000. I saw a person on Twitter who's like, "I sold my company." And then in the comments, the person was like, "How much did you sell it for?" And the person was like, "Yeah, I sold it for $5,000. So it doesn't mean anything. He's literally saying, "I promise you will get another opportunity to solve another problem in the future." We get a million opportunities, and most people make the same mistake, and they just bounce from opportunity to opportunity because it's not easy enough, and it's never easy enough. Rarely, very rarely does something go viral, and that's it. You made it. But even then, there are problems. We made the first play to earn game in crypto. We made $1 million in a month. We made $500,000 in the first 2 days. That was viral. That was successful. And then we should have been a slam dunk. But when the market got tough a year later, we got out. We didn't realize that it would turn into the NFT boom. My point is, it's like you could go viral at the beginning, but it's never easy. It's never easy. But I haven't even gotten to my rebuttal quote yet. I'm getting fired up from reading this. I didn't read this yesterday. I rolled my eyes when I read, like, my friend said 100% this. I read the first couple of sentences, and then I'm like, ugh, gross. And then I'm like, I'm gonna record a rebuttal to this on the pod. Okay. Number 3, when you hate your partners or investors. Your partners and investors are key to the success of your business. Many times you will not agree with them or flat out fight with them about your opinions. That's normal. But if you can't work together and it's making your life miserable, this might be a time to move on. I only agree with that if the reason you hate your partners is because they are not putting in the necessary work. And then you should do something where you have control over it. That's where, or just match their level of work or put in very little yourself, and just maybe with enough time. Actually, I won't even say maybe. If both parties, I really believe that if both parties put in enough time long term into a project, even if it's a very part-time thing, that project can still be very, very successful. I mean, I've seen that time. Like Reverb was like that. Now Reverb is becoming pretty successful. It's one of my startups, reverb.chat. And it was like that. This was the SEO funnel was built in January of 2020. And we started taking the business really seriously when I was living in Rome. This was last year, and my co-founder forgot to pay hosting. And we kind of like forgotten about the business, but the SEO funnel was so crazy And we had all these users, and we hadn't even really thought about putting in freemium and trying to monetize. And my my co-founder forgot to pay the hosting bill for the app, not for the SEO pages, for the app. And people literally called me and DM'd me, and they're like, "Hey, is Reverb still around? Is it coming back?" Of course, we restored hosting, and we're like, "Oh my God, we should take this seriously." And then we put in freemium, and now we have paying users, and it's growing month over month. But that was years. That was years. And it wasn't even part-time. We worked on it quite a bit in 2020, and then made the same mistake that I'm like literally saying, which is like you bounce around. And that's what this guy is advocating. It is terrible advice. Awful, god awful advice. It makes me angry that he is giving this as advice. This is what he said. So then he wraps it up. Shutting down or moving on from a company is not a mark of failure, but it's an act of courage. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not an act of courage. As long as you do it professionally. Honestly, the only time to do that is just when you have to depend on other people and they are not putting in the necessary work, and time is money, and you need to do something where you have full control over the product. And that's when it's time to move on. That's when you should move on. But like then you pick an idea, you do it solo, and then you whatever happens, you stick it out. So now I'm going to move on to my quote from Mike Bloomberg. And this is a quote about milestones from Mike Bloomberg. And I found this from, I like this podcast. It's called Founders by David Senra. Honestly, that podcast was inspiration for this show because it's an energized host who does the show solo. That show is not daily. I think it's once or twice a week. And each episode is maybe an hour, 50 minutes long. And the host is very energized, and he does it all alone. And I like this show. And I'm like, I'm kind of like this. I feel like that's why I don't need a host. I don't need guests. I don't need a co-host. I don't need guests. And I can do the Edward Show solo. Or I can do this show solo and call it the Edward Show. This is the quote from Michael Bloomberg. Of course, if you don't know who Michael Bloomberg is, he was the mayor of New York City, three-term mayor, first ever mayor to do 3 terms, billionaire, created the Bloomberg terminal, very, very successful and respected guy. I met him when I was a teenager, and I learned a lot, actually. Mike Bloomberg said, "Life, I've found, works the following way. Daily, you're presented with many small and surprising opportunities. Sometimes you seize one that takes you to the top. Most, though, if valuable at all, take you only a little way." I'm going to reread that later on. "To succeed, you must string together many small incremental advances rather than count on hitting the lottery jackpot once. Trusting to great luck is a strategy not likely to work for most people." Oh my God, this is so good. "As a practical matter, constantly, this is what you should do. Enhance your skills, put in as many hours as possible, and make tactical plans for the next few steps. Then, based on what actually occurs, look one more move ahead and adjust the plan. Take lots of chances and make lots of individual spur-of-the-moment decisions. Don't devise a 5-year plan or a great leap forward. Central planning didn't work for Stalin or Mao, and it won't work for an entrepreneur either." Oh, that's so good. The quote that I really liked, "Most opportunities, if valuable at all, take you only a little way." Oh, this is just so good. It's short and it's so incredible. I think the real recipe is just do something where you have as much control as possible, full control if that's possible, and you don't have to depend on other people, and then you just stick it out. And that's basically what Bloomberg is saying, because people think it's just a rocket ship from the start. I think there's this what happens is one business gets hard. People have this grass is always greener. You know what? This next idea, they start playing it up in their minds like it's going to be that rocket ship. And then it's the same thing. And then that one gets hard. And then they move on to something else. That one gets hard. Then they move on to something else. And if they had just stuck with the first one, that one would have been lucrative. That one would have been successful. But they just had to stick it out because they are presented along the way with many little opportunities. And as they are presented with opportunity and they seize opportunity and opportunity, they're stringing these ones together. And then that's what makes them grow. That's what makes them scale. That's what makes them successful. And this isn't what most people do. This isn't what most entrepreneurs do. And that is why most entrepreneurs fail. Even if your business isn't working and you have to go back to your job, you can still work on it part-time. And then I actually believe it will succeed. It won't succeed. Here's a caveat. It won't succeed if you're not doing any marketing for it. You can't build in stealth mode and then hope you're going to be successful. You need to be constantly getting market feedback, validation. You constantly need to talk about what you're doing and create top of mind awareness. So when people think of your niche, they think of you. That's how you get those opportunities in the first place. It's super unlikely that you're going to succeed if you're just building in stealth. But if you stick something out and you're being very vocal, you're building in public, you're being very vocal, you're going to win. 100% you're going to win. You're going to win. So not 100% this, as my friend said to that, hey, you should quit post. Oh, that guy is just, you know what it is? Misery loves company. That's what it is. Misery loves company, and that guy is spreading his misery because he wants the company. Nah, be like Bloomberg. Be like Bloomberg. You know what? I'm going to read this quote one more time. I'm going to read it one more time. Kind of obnoxious. I'm going to read it one more time. Life, I found, works the following way. Daily, you're presented with many small and surprising opportunities. Sometimes you seize one that takes you to the top. Most, though, if valuable at all, take you only a little way. To succeed, you must string together many small incremental advances rather than count on hitting the lottery. Trusting to great luck is a strategy not likely to work for most people. As a practical matter, constantly enhance your skills, put in as many hours as possible, and make tactical plans for the next few steps. Then, based on what actually occurs, look one more move ahead and adjust the plan. Take lots of chances and make lots of individual spur-of-the-moment decisions. Don't devise a 5-year plan or a great leap forward. Central planning didn't work for Stalin or Mao, and it won't work for an entrepreneur either. This is episode 109 of The Edward Show. Thank you so much for listening. Beautiful Sunday morning here in New York City. I'm feeling great. I'm going to go have breakfast, have some coffee. This is decaffeinated. I'm recording this without caffeine because I am hyped by that Bloomberg quote. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to all of you again tomorrow. Bye now.